Welcome back to Capital Academy. Capital Academy is all about speaking with entrepreneurs who are startup companies and early stage companies as they're walking through the path of raising capital, getting involved with investors, finding other founders and partners. Today, during our pitch event, we had 3 companies that gave us some tremendous information on what they're doing and how they're working at doing it. Capital Academy is now going to sort of open up their thoughts on how the pitch went, as well as other things that they may want to talk about. And on this segment, we have Tim Ketron, who has started a company called Primyce. And Tim, thank you so much for participating in the Pitch Me. And I will start from that point. How did you feel about your presentation? How did you feel about pitching to begin with? And what are some of your thoughts for your next step?
Well, thank you first for letting me be a part of it. I think it was good. It was less nerve-wracking than I originally thought it would be, but I did learn a lot about how I should go next time and how direct I need to be. I think I need to simplify everything so that it's much easier to understand and get out some key points that were brought up during the pitch.
Okay.
Ketron, and I've got 10 years background in real estate, closed over 5,000 loans. This idea came to me through a lot of the struggles that I was faced with in trying to get business. And trying to get business, I learned a lot of the things that go the wrong way in real estate, things that should go a different way in order to empower. So basically, consumers. We have here is, I was trying to show the chaos of the industry. So you're at the bottom, you're trying to get to your house, but in order to get to this house, you have to go through so much pushing and pulling and steering, and everyone thinks they have the better way, the right way. They're steering you in many different directions. It's almost impossible to feel like you can get through that on your own or with. So what we have done is basically create a dashboard for the entire industry to lay it over top, to give you a clear and well-lit path right to the house that you're trying to buy or refinance or sell, so that everything is simple. With a mouse click, you'll be able to create the team that you have done your due diligence with. You understand the reasons that you're going through this process, every piece of what it is that you need, and you're in complete control of the transaction.
And we also have Amit Agnos. Anagnos with us. Thank you so much, Amit. Amit is the CEO at Results CFO, and he is also an investor. And Amit, thank you so much for participating in the Pitch Me. And I'd like to know for Tim if there's any thoughts that you might have on the Pitch Me that Tim was able to present today.
Yes, I do have some thoughts, but first, thank you for having me and allowing me to share in this great event. So, as we were talking during the break and also during your pitch, there was a lot of positives that I saw. I liked the social consciousness that you're trying to bring to the process. But my biggest concern as a potential investor, and as I said, as a recovering attorney, is the issue of potential liability with regard to all the different service providers that you have or that you all will be putting onto the service online, and being able to vet those providers. And my concern is, I know that you feel that you had an attorney look at it from a terms and agreements perspective. But I think you also need to look into it a little bit deeper, such as have a checklist that you said that you do for all the service providers. But those were my initial concerns, and then there's some other things that if we get a chance to talk about that I would like to get into.
And that's I'd love, if you have time, considering those that are watching us right now have not seen the Pitch Me. So if you can just sort of tell us the area of which Amit is referencing, but then speak to the concerns that he's raising. So maybe we can broaden that out.
Everybody's going to have to put in their license numbers, and no matter what you do, if you're a plumber, you have to have license that we can then cross-reference. You also have to have your own website, because what we're going to do is we're facilitating to a point, but then you're going to leave us and go directly to these people. There's not much of a way that they can hide that piece of it. We're also going to be, full reviews on both ends, so from professionals as well as consumers, so you will be able to see everything about it. And then one of the great things about Chris, who is our VP, there's nothing he can't do with the computer. And I say, go out and load this up with 50,000 people and then cross them against every other, and he's a script and it's done. And he's got 20,000 people loaded up, and all 20,000 have already been, gone through the Better Business and gone through all of these required setups. So basically what we're doing is nothing more than a much more filtered, YP kind of a thing. So it's a lot more engaging, a lot more filtered, but basically just listing.
Basically what's happening is consumers are coming to the site to match themselves with professionals throughout different industries that best suit or fit their needs.
Okay, and so again, let me just make sure the audience understands what we're talking about. Your company is based on you're developing a website, a web portal that individuals, consumers can go to as they're looking to buy property. I'm saying property, I don't know if it's only homes, but I just wanted to frame that so that the audience know what we're referencing.
Basically, we're a dashboard for the real estate industry.
Okay.
So we're something that no matter what your transaction type is, you would be able to come and establish a team just to simplify the process, take away all of the unknowns, remove the chaos. There's so much out there right now that you don't know. We just want to give it to you, so that way people make informed, educated choices instead of just having stuff thrown at them that they have no idea what or why they're doing it. And one of the things that we were talking about, because we're matching professionals and consumers, there does come that liability piece of it. So what we did was we removed the piece where we are the ones matching, and all we're doing is putting out things that could be of importance and letting consumers decide whether or not they want to read and accept that as an importance and use that to filter. So they're going to do their own due diligence. They're going to do their own, they're going to understand why it is they're choosing the people. We'll take all the steps that we need to, and it's a learning process, so we'll constantly have to add new things, but that won't happen until we get feedback. But we are going to have the license numbers, the insurance, and PDFs that have to be, attached to each profile, so you would be able to make sure that people are who they say they are. We're also going to have full reviews. Basically, the site is Angie's List meets LinkedIn meets Match.com. It's going to be a social media type aspect to it, but it's all about matching based on individual specific needs.
So one of the questions I had asked during Pitch Me was, how are you positioned as it relates to, for instance, the National Real Estate Association or things of that nature? Will those be areas of pushback for you because they believe they're already providing services of that level? Where does that stand in what it is?
In order for a realtor, for a lender to join, one of the things that we have to have is their license number. So they'll have to have that listed with their profiles. As long as that's the case and there's nothing wrong with it. And then, basically, I like to think of what we're doing as a lobby. We're not pushing anybody over another. We're not taking any detailed, specific information. We're just facilitating a meeting room so that people can introduce themselves and do due diligence on stuff that's really already out there, but not consolidated. So we're pulling everything together and putting it in a platform so that consumers can, instead of going and saying, what's a title company? Just like that, they're going to understand not only what's a title company, but how to compare them, the differences and the different levels of service. As I said, 5,000 closings, 4,000 of them we did in-home, and they had no clue. I mean, they were just astonished. They've done refinances, bought, sold, never knew that somebody would come to their house. That's because they just never knew what kind of choices that they had. They were taking what was given. So we're charging less, and we're going to their house.
They provide services when you want to go find a house. And then when you want to go find a house, then you're going to see advertisements for realtors. And whoever wants to pay. Most of the sites are pay to play. and whoever you see is because they have the deepest pockets kind of a thing, which does absolutely nothing for a consumer. So what I wanted to do is just remove all of that and let people be chosen because they actually fit what it is somebody's looking for. We're not really competing in the home search piece of it right now. So what we are is something that can just fit into, but in the big picture, we're trying to remove what it is that everyone's trying to do, and that's, you know, whoever wants to pay the most gets first dibs, and you know, there's just so much under the table kind of stuff that we want to shed light on. You know, and instead of going and attacking people or regulations doing it, we figured that this is a way you could do it naturally so that it just automatically happens from the very start, and we can make a change in the industry based on just doing the right thing.
Go ahead.
As an investor, when you're hearing do you hear disruption in the industry coming from what he's saying he's doing in that space? Or like, what do you hear when you're hearing the type of platform that they're building out for the real estate industry?
Well, I also look at it not just for the real estate industry, that if it's done properly, like Tim said in his presentation and his pitch, this could be adapted to other industries as well. So I think that that's a really good thing, and a potential for expansion and growth within his company. I do see it to a small degree a disruption, but it's all in the way that they package it. I think if they package it as more of an informational site with how-to videos, with how do you choose a settlement company, with how do you choose a home designer, how do you choose a landscaping company, and provide checklists as Tim said he's going to do, and then not worry about monetizing it by getting the vendors to pay to go on, but monetize it by having advertisers come on and advertising where it can just be a link. I mean, the traditional initial way that you monetize things on the web, but it takes away from the, it doesn't get you to a SaaS-based application or subscription as a service type of model, which is what I think you're trying to go for because of the passive reoccurring revenue stream. But, and there may be ways to develop that with the different industries, but I think that if you start off with an advertising model, that you're going to be able to generate some buzz, go out to the sources, maybe get the real estate, the Realtors Association behind you supporting it, go out to the title companies and get them to, their associations and get them to support it and provide the information. You can be that one place where a homeowner is going or a potential homeowner is going to find all this information that they need to know, and basically to pull back the curtains and show the Wizard of Oz. And that is where I think that you probably will get your biggest bang. I could be wrong, but I think that's where you're going to get your biggest bang and also limit your liability.
Can you address a little bit about your business model and how you're going to actually generate revenue?
We have about 30 million members right now that would fit underneath what we're looking for. We're charging $10 a month for realtors, for lenders and title companies, and $25 a month for everyone else. And that is the ability to come in and build these, the profiles to say all of the information that they want to. We're also introducing social media type feeds. So it's going to end up being all social media style, where you're constantly updating, and then as you're following to compare, you'll be able to get updates. To go back to that, so what we're doing is realtors are free, consumers are free. Realtors we're using free because their influence that they do have, they'll easily be able to drive consumers to us, because we're also going to issue certificates of compliance that says any transaction takes place through our system, we can guarantee there's no collusion, no under the table agreements, no questionable referral practices, because everything is out in the open. So we'll stand up. We've demoed in front of the CFPB. We got a standing ovation. That's the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau in DC. Strongly encouraged to bring this to market. So they absolutely understood the value of what it is that we're trying to introduce. So one of the models that most recently is what we had come up with is, because we all know that a consumer is going to go to a realtor and going to say, I don't have a title company, I don't have lender, I don't have this, I don't have that, 18 plus people that are involved in a transaction, you're going to choose one because that's a realtor, and a realtor's going to choose the rest. Well, with all the scrutiny and the regulations that are constantly hit down from the CFPB, from all of the lawsuits, RESPA and HUD, what we decided was we can guarantee through the use of our system that there is no unethical or questionable referral practices. So why don't we give it to a realtor for free and then tell a realtor, instead of referring Bill the painter, refer Primyce. Instead of referring MBH title or whatever, refer Primyce, and let Primyce take all the liability away from you by letting Primyce be where all of the we go find you services are.
I think as soon as I heard the word guarantee, that's when I step on the attorney side of the fence, the recovering attorney
Yes,
side of the
covered.
fence, in a concern that if the site is saying it guarantees, one hiccup could create an issue for you.
Obviously,
though I
our-
understand,
Yeah.
where you're going, but I think the biggest thing is not saying that word, right?
Well,
I would think so, but
we like to, it's something that we feel that we can stand behind. But obviously, it would have to be well written and well understood, to make sure we don't put ourselves in too much of harm's way. But if we can make sure that every consumer, because we can see everything that's happening, is coming into it, is making all of their own choices, is not only, the realtor can't say, well, go on the site and find Bill the painter and still use him, but that way we have to see that you've taken and added 5 other painters, and you've done your compare features, and you've forced yourself to do the due diligence required for you to still see that there's, discrepancy, but, $500, but you still want to use. Okay, well, at least now you understand. We're going to stand behind that piece of it.
I'll tell you, as a consumer, what I do like is if I looked at this from the standpoint of being a first-time home buyer, there are so many things you just don't know. You don't know that you need any of those services. So if I have a place I can go to, put in some minimal information about the type of home I'm looking for, and now it's telling me, well, when you do this, you need a title company, you need an inspector, you need, I think that part becomes really valuable. How do you convince the realtors it may be free for them, but how do you convince them to use it, considering it's so hard to change old habits?
Because the amount of regulation, I'm going to use to our advantage the amount of scrutiny that's put on them because of these relationships that they have, the questionable, because there's so much spotlight being put on that. That's the perfect opportunity for us to step in and say, we're going to give you a different way. It's going to be free, and you're going to be able to get something that stands up for you that says that this transaction took place and nothing unethical or questionable took place with it, because that's something that the system is preventing or stopping.
Right.
what I found, the first, almost the first word out of your mouth really got my attention. Or the first phrase, putting a professional team together for the consumer. And I think just by sitting here listening and hearing about it more and letting it percolate a little bit, where I think your real value is going to be, and why you probably could get a lot of realtors involved in having them refer their people to Primyce as opposed to their painter or their title company, is that it could be a place where you guys, Primyce, is quarterbacking the actual transaction for the consumer, or the consumer's quarterbacking it him or herself, where they've got all the team members right there communicating. It could be a forum for a communication for that particular project. And I think that is where you would be able to differentiate yourself from the Zillows, from the Angie's List, from the Thumbtacks, from any of these other services that are out there, because you are now bringing all the professionals together. The realtor doesn't need to be on the phone or checking email. All the communication for the whole transaction can be done right in your all's forum for that particular project.
That's exactly what we're doing.
And that's the thing that I think that you really should be pushing right now. That's what I would focus on.
I mean, It's just that's another piece of it. But it's all about the transparency. It's keeping everything out in the open, the emails, the documents, the way that you're saying right there, the video interviews, everything about it is to create all transparency so that, let's say, there could be cracks in a foundation, but if the foundation is built on transparency, it's clear, then you can easily see and fix them.
Right.
So, it's one of those things that the more information and choice that's out there, the more people start protecting themselves.
What are some of the biggest numbers that you need capital for? And my question is going to, when I'm looking at this, is it marketing and advertising? Like, how are you going to go to market? How do you get the information about Primyce into the hands and eyes of those who it's designed for?
Well, that's what. So originally, we were going to target consumers the way that, but what I realized was that's going to be very difficult to change. So what we need to do is convince the realtors they want to be a part and let them be the ones to drive it. So we're giving it to realtors for free, and we're having realtors be the ones that say to the consumer, go to the site, but also going to their painter and to their title company and saying, we're not going to be referring you individually anymore. So if you want to still be a part of or an opportunity to work with me, then go and register at this site, because realtors are free, but nobody else is. So, and it's minimal. It's $10 a month. It's not a whole lot, but what it does is it allows all the volume to come in and still have fair opportunity to reach these consumers.
As we're winding close to the end of this segment, Demid, are there any other questions you might have for Tim?
Yeah. Do you have an expansion plan or a growth plan, and is it based on geography or is it based on industry?
Well, we're starting right here. The local Northern Virginia area has like 15,000 realtors in one association. That 15,000 realtors then controls over 1 million other service providers. So right here in our little test market, we're looking at well over 1 million participants. So, as that takes off is how we're going to start to expand it out. But
And so it'll be done geographically. So you'll do the Northern Virginia area, then maybe Baltimore, and then Philadelphia. And
yeah, I mean, and a lot of it right now is just so we can really get the feedback and make sure that what we have out there is sustainable and that there's not any sort of huge hiccups. But because we own all the code, we own everything, it's one of those things that we can fix it, rebuild it, adjust it overnight. You wake up and there's something completely new and updated and scalable. So we don't have any restrictions when it comes to that.
do you have an exit strategy, or what is your preferred exit strategy?
Well, because we want to scale so many different industries, it's difficult to think right now that I just want to sell it. But if we wanted to go that route, then Trulia just sold for $3.5 billion. Dotloop sold for $104 million. And both of those are just niches of what this is going to encompass all of it. So, we're talking about something completely different than those that are traditional.
Well, this was a wonderful opportunity to get further information. Thank you so much, Demid, for joining us. Thank you,
Yes,
Tim.
thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, Tim.
And thank you guys for joining us on Capital Academy. I'm going to take the opportunity for a perfect segue when we talk about exit strategy. Companies who are going into business, and especially when you're looking to bring in outside capital, it makes huge sense for you to understand the different exit strategies available, learn how to walk through them, and Capital Academy does run a program under our accelerator called the Capital Program that will walk you through the various rules and regulations that can be utilized as you look to do that. So we look forward to you joining us back on Capital Academy, and if that is a platform that makes sense for you, joining us in the accelerator. Thank you again, and we will see you next time.